are now locked into Radio Juxtapoz, the home of contemporary art and culture conversation. Coming up today.
Everyone clamored about years ago, like, I thought the future was going to have weird cars. And then somebody comes out with a weird future car, and you're like, that thing's ugly.
Yeah.
Like, all right. I am curious who did that logo. Did you see that logo?
No.
I mean, it looks like you got somebody to just tag Cybertruck. It's ridiculous.
This is Radio Juxtapoz.
Oh, man. It is so nice to see you.
Thanks, man. It's good to see you, too. It's been a while.
This is the Radio Juxtapoz podcast live from DesignerCon with my really good friend, Alex Pardee.
Hello, Evan.
I just want to get right into it.
Mm-hmm.
You've always been so good with, like, your fans and the people that love your work.
I depend on them to live.
Obviously. But, like, you're good just face-to-face.
Okay.
So, like, do you get, like, pretty amped up and for like something like this where you're like, okay, well, for the next 3 days I'm going to be like really doing some face-to-face?
Yeah, I think it's comparable to I have tremendous stage fright. I always have. I know
that about you, which is crazy.
I don't know how to raise my hand in school. Never did. Don't know how. Never dropped out of speech class. Never got even an AA degree because I couldn't take speech class. But I think that it's comparable to something like stand-up comedy or something where you just throw yourself out on stage, and then your body just kind of takes over and does it.
You know, that's actually really interesting because there was something, I think it was the comedians in cars getting coffee with Jerry Seinfeld and Eddie Murphy, and Eddie Murphy talked about stage fright. I'm like, Eddie Murphy, stage fright. But then when he gets on stage, he's flawless.
Yeah, it's weird. I think like Patton Oswalt's talked about it too, in the same kind of thing. I mean, like it is. There's something weird about, like, I get really, really nervous. Like you know, you can ask anybody that works with me over there. Like, I'll be freaking out kind of until like the 2 minutes before I open. I'm like, things are gonna fall apart. Like, oh, I don't know if I want to talk to anybody. And then all of a sudden, like, the lights go on, and I'm just like, hey, how's it going? And it works.
Yeah, I think too, because as an artist, you have a studio practice and you have a creative practice that involves no one but yourself.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's like, hey, here I am.
Well, I did. One of the things that actually got me over this hump, because I was deathly afraid. Like, even up until I think probably 2009, 2010, like, I would like almost convulse if I knew I had to do a signing or if I knew I had to do a thing for no reason. Absolutely no reason, right? Like, not like anybody cares.
And that's the thing, because people were going to be there. And you have people that follow you. So it wasn't like it was a stage fright of no one's going to be here, I'm going to be by myself. It's actually was a stage fright that you're actually going to have these interactions.
It's a fear. Like, I have a lot of internal fears of losing control. I have a lot of fears of just like what's going to happen. So it's almost like this thing of like, oh, someone's going to say hi to me and I'm going to throw up in their face, right? Or like, I don't know, like, is that going to happen? Like, maybe, I don't know. Like, I'll trip and knock somebody over. I'll break someone's leg. Like, I don't know.
Right.
But what I did was in 2010, I think it was, I decided to like basically face that fear full on, and I was like, you know what? I want to do a tour where I do nothing but draw things for people for like whatever. So Dave Correa and I went on a tour called Sketch for Sketch, where I'd said, if you draw me anything, I'll draw you something. And we went to different cities and just sat there for 8 hours at a time with lines of people drawing. And at first it was terrifying.
Wait, was that 10 years ago?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that was 10 years ago.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so
I remember that.
And so what happened was, like, it was terrifying, but the lines, we didn't expect anybody to come out for it either. So we were like, yeah, we'll do 20, 30 drawings a time, but like we ended up doing thousands. Right. And so by the time we were at like the 15th day of doing that, it was just like, I realized that it's not about what you say to people. It's not about what you're drawing. It's not about it's basically just about the fact that like you get to interact with somebody and somebody gets that time with you. So it did lower I was like, okay, I can do this. They're coming for this reason. I should be pleasant and return, right? Like, it's like, okay, cool. It's easy. And so
you have, let's do this like 10-year window here.
That's the last time I saw you.
No, it was a couple years ago. You moved to Orlando for a while from Northern California.
Yeah, witness protection, so I don't know if we can even talk about it.
Are we not allowed to?
No.
Is it that bad?
No. It was fine. I would happily move back to Orlando again if it was for the same reason. I moved out there because my girlfriend, Chloe Rice, who's a photographer, she's a marketing photographer for Disney, so she got transferred out there. So since I can technically work from wherever I want, I went out there with her.
Right.
It was crazy.
What I mean, and that's the thing where I want to get into is that because to me you were always a Northern California guy.
Yeah, so, I still am. I miss that place.
Yeah. So like, was it a change in even the way you approached your studio practice or any of the products that you were doing? Was it a big shift for you?
It was weird. It was hard to pinpoint why it was weird because I was also going through a transition of stopping my business that I was doing as well.
Right.
So I
Zerofriends for people at home. Yeah.
So basically, like Zerofriends was stopping. I was moving, halfway across the world over the other side of the country, and so I was in a different place. But what I didn't realize when I got out there was I was like I grew up in the Bay Area, obviously, but I always grew up saying like I don't need inspiration, right? Like I just I'm in my own head all the time.
Yeah.
I don't need a lot. Like I can hermit out and just create, and so I was like, yeah, I technically can work everywhere. But what I didn't realize was when I moved to Orlando, I didn't have the option of not. So it was like I just in the Bay Area, I never quite realized that I was around other artists and I was around other things and occasionally I could have that if I wanted to. And then when I went to Florida, I didn't have that. And as a 40-year-old moving there, I'm not in the same social circles to go make friends. Right? It's I really felt like it was a witness protection thing. So it was just Chloe and I were just each other's best friends, and we just were there. That's what we were doing. So it did definitely change my approach to things. It made me really question kind of some creative things up and down. It was really hard to go back and forth to LA to work and
Yep.
and stuff, harder than I thought. So it was weird, but also the isolation allowed me to simultaneously create a lot because I didn't have an option.
Right.
So
right. Do you notice a big change in the things that you do now from that time? Has anything kind of stuck with you from that time?
Yeah, well, it has because I kind of went through when I was out there. I was alone a lot. I thought a lot. I was in my own thoughts, and I was able to kind of self-analyze a lot of stuff that was going on because that was also during a time of I was questioning, as I'm sure all artists do after doing stuff for so long, I don't know what I'm doing, right? I just I was out there, and not only did I feel alone, but I also was kind of starting over. I left my company, and I was I don't think I want to do that anymore.
Yeah.
But if I'm not doing that, I don't know what I want to do. And then so I kind of was forced to take a look at myself and be what do I want to do? So I went through a time I didn't do any personal art. The first year I was there, I basically was I'm just going to take jobs because that's what I can do remotely. Mm-hmm. So I did more art direction for some films. I did a really random job where I took on a brand direction for an upstart hamburger company in Mexico. And so, because I just was what should I do with my life?
Also, because why not?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Why not?
Right.
What should I do with my life? I'm just trying these things. And then through those avenues, I did realize okay, these aren't necessarily the things that I like doing. I like making just weird shit and weird art, and
right.
I like it. So then I kind of just, I had to mentally start over, and kind of humbly be okay, just because I had technically been doing this for 20 years, I don't really know what I'm doing. So I'm going to start over. And I basically started over.
But it's weird to start over when you have a big fan base.
Well, I don't think I started over publicly.
Yeah, right.
I started over privately, right? So it was in steps.
Oh, this is really therapy. I like it.
It was in steps. I was okay, I'm good at I think that if I wasn't an artist, I would be in marketing. I really am fascinated with marketing. So I was okay, I'm gonna start. I like merchandising my stuff. So let's start back there. And even though I'm not, I'll just start another company with myself and do that. So I did that because it was something that I knew and I liked. And then I kind of got that going. And then it was okay, but that's not what I want to do forever. So now I'm gonna get back into art. So I don't know, it's just kind of more of I was starting over the same steps that I took, but knowing more of how to handle stuff. Okay, cool. Don't do everything yourself.
Right.
Right. DIY is cool. It's street cred. It's awesome. But you don't have to do everything yourself. And then, that was a big thing that I learned.
Who are the people, because I'm constantly, especially at something like DesignerCon, I'm constantly trying to find the historical lineage of all this stuff.
Okay.
Who for you are the people that you look to even now or even back in the day that were kind of your influences, or people that you admired their commercial and personal practice in a way that made sense to you?
I mean, I think like going back to what I grew up in with, the having the Bay Area roots and stuff, like it was really like there was very little to compare to, like there was no road to navigate. There was no map to doing like, okay, you do your own art and your merchandising, but you're not fully like a brand. Like what is this? And like at the time, like the only people that were doing that was like Shepard Fairey with Obey, Mike Giant with Rebel 8, Upper Playground to a degree was taking artists, creating capsule programs within them. So it was like, Dave Cho had his own line, and Jeremy
Sam
Fish
Flores and Jeremy Fish,
and so like those were the maps that I basically was like, okay, like this is possible to take an art and turn it into a brand, into a merch, and so those were totally like, and now because technology caught up, everybody can buy a printer to make G-Clay prints, and everybody can basically screen print, do direct-to-garment stuff. Like, there is a kind of more of a map to do that now.
Right.
But back then there wasn't, except for those guys. So it was
and
cool.
because I wanted to get to that eventually in this conversation, because I started at Upper Playground in 2005. Mm-hmm. It was an exciting time in San Francisco.
Yeah, it was really
and I feel
exciting.
like you and I both were involved or in there at that time, and it's weird how like it as it happens, really the city's gentrification really kind of hurt that scene.
I think so.
And it's kind of too. I hate saying that because it feels so lazy, but it really did. Yeah, that whole Lower Haight scene kind of.
Yeah, I mean, once we left our shop there, I don't think I'll ever be able to come back.
Right. Yeah.
Not that there's not the support there, but it's just there's not the same support.
But did you feel like it was special at the time when it was happening?
Oh my God, yeah. It was awesome. I mean, when we I had after working with Upper Playground and 5024 SF, we had our own shop very close to it, and we would have people come from Fresno. And
wait, it was in my old apartment, wasn't
it?
Or was it the one next to it?
It was next door to your old apartment.
Right. Yeah.
And that was like such a crazy thing because it felt like a community. It felt like a destination. It was cool. Like and not that it's not. I mean, I haven't been in San Francisco for a while, so it's not cool. Right. But it just, I know.
Yeah, it changed. Yeah, it just. I feel like that period of time was just. It was really special with all the artists, and it, Matt Ravelli was a big part of that kind of weird. He was kind of in the background.
He was a mayor.
He was. He was like a quiet mayor of that whole scene.
Yeah. Or the Bosley of the Charlie's Angels, right? Yeah.
I hope he listens to this and hears that. For DesignerCon, so that's I also want to get to is I feel like this was what part of Comic-Con used to be. Mm-hmm. And is lost. Yeah. Just because the nature of Comic-Con got so big. It became more and more about promoting different films and different pilots and all that kind of stuff. This has a certain energy to it, but you've been here how many times now?
I've been here about 6-7 years in a row,
and so can you talk a little bit, since DesignerCon's allowed us to do this here, can you talk a little bit about the evolution of DesignerCon? Because I'm still walking around trying to get myself acclimated to what I saw at Comic-Con maybe 10 years ago that's now here.
Well, I think what's frustrating about Comic-Con is a lot of this type of art is there, but it's lost.
Yeah,
It's scattered. It's lost. There's no curation there. And you'd have, you have a 900-foot Amazon booth, and then you have a 10-foot booth selling pins. It's crazy.
Right.
So one of the best things about this convention is that it's basically curated from here's all the cool stuff at Comic-Con that's not corporate based, and let's put it in a room of designers and creators and stuff. And that's always been the roots of it, as far as I can tell. I know the show's a lot older than what I even went to.
Yeah.
But even from when I first started, it felt like every booth was like a passionate creator of whatever they created, whether it was toys, whether it was shirts, art, just anything. And you could really feel the passion in every table, and everyone was excited to be there. And it's a friendly environment, and it is just since just got bigger. And I think that goes with kind of the fact that technology has advanced to where you can get 3D printers and make your own little resin sculptures, and you can have more things. So these same creators are just bigger now,
right?
I guess.
Do you collect anything yourself?
I was a huge like toy collector pre-moving to Florida, right?
Okay.
Like when I moved to Florida, I basically purged
because you saw all the stuff that you had accumulated.
I guess because I was paying for all that stuff constantly. I had a small house, which is all you can afford in the Bay Area. I had a small house, so I had 2 public storage units that I was also paying for, and I had an art studio that had tons of stuff in it. And when I moved to Florida, it was basically, we equated it out to like everything you pay, it's going to be $1 a pound to move. So it was like, all right, I'm out of here. Get rid of my Street Fighter machine that I thought that was my life goal, right? Like that's all I ever wanted when I was little. It's like, get rid of that because I can't move that. It's like it would cost me more to ship it than to like buy a new one someday. So I basically was like, just like, all right. And the other thing is that I create stuff.
Right.
So for my archive, I keep stuff just to have. So I was like, I got to just stop collecting all this stuff. So I basically just purged everything.
But is there anything that you kind of still want? What's that one thing that you wanted you didn't get?
I don't know.
Okay.
I really was able to mentally just kind of turn stuff off from one. Like I'll see stuff on Instagram and I'll be like, oh, that's awesome, and I'll impulse buy stuff still.
Yeah.
I buy a lot of stuff for my girlfriend. Like I know she really likes stuff, so I'm like, I know what she likes, and it makes me feel better to buy that. And I like supporting artists, so I'll buy stuff that I like. But there's nothing that I really want to collect. There is very, very old toys that I remember having when I was younger.
Yeah.
That are like astronomically expensive. Like there's this one toy that's called Gregory, and it's a giant rubber bat with a see-through chest of his bones and organs, and you squeeze him and blood pulses through his heart.
Oh, cool.
And I had it when I was like 7, which I can't believe why I had it. My parents are awesome, but
because at some point parents just were like, well, it doesn't matter anymore.
It doesn't matter, yeah.
Just get it.
Yeah. And so I've forever on the search for that for less than $500, which I won't let myself pay for, but
why maybe you could tap into this for me. Why hasn't anyone brought back Mask?
Oh, the Mask, the M-A-S-K with the it's a good question.
I loved Mask. I had so much of it, and I've kind of looked to see like if I could buy anything, but
Dusty Road. Remember they had
yes.
They had I remember their names.
I had like the whole setup.
And Venom was the evil guys.
And it was like a gas station, which was like the base or whatever. Yeah. But I don't understand why that hasn't come back.
I don't either. Vehicles itself aren't.
Yeah.
Like I think like that was a vehicle-based line.
Yes.
And the figures themselves were even smaller than Star Wars figures or G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
And so I feel like
the figures were definitely smaller than G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
For sure.
But I think that like in general, like I was just talking about this with my friend. Like, there's no vehicle toys now, really. Yeah. I mean, there might be. I just might not be going to the truck toy show.
That's kind of an interesting, environmentally conscious move.
It really is. Right? Elon Musk needs to make the Cybertruck toy. Yeah. It looks like a Transformer.
Did you see that new truck? What did you think?
I thought it was funny when they threw the rocks at it and it broke the windows, but I don't know. I'm such a sucker for gimmicks.
Me too.
Like, I don't see anything wrong with being gimmicky. Like, it's fun. Like, why not? Like, everyone clamored about years ago, like, I thought the future was going to have weird cars. And then somebody comes out with a weird future car, and you're like, that thing's ugly.
Yeah.
Like, all right, whatever.
That's what I was thinking, too. It's like, this is what we've all wanted.
Yeah.
And now we're upset about it?
Like, you guys played Spy Hunter for years, and now you just don't want... All right.
I just think it's because the fact he hasn't been able to get to the moon or Mars yet. I think people are just getting a little frustrated with him.
I am curious who did that logo. Did you see that logo?
No.
I mean, it looks like he got somebody to just tag Cybertruck. It's ridiculous, but it's funny also.
Speaking of Mars and the moon.
Yeah. We gonna go?
Which one are you rooting for first for colonization?
Mars, because of Total Recall.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'm a fan of going to Mars.
I'm Moon because of 2001 Space Odyssey.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we both have pop cultural references to why we want to go to different planets. Except for, I guess, Mars kind of mutated people because of the atmosphere. But
what's the one with Matt Damon?
What am I thinking of?
Is that The Martian?
Yeah, that's The Martian, yeah.
Okay, so that's Mars.
That's Mars.
Yeah.
Also, Ghosts of Mars with Ice Cube.
Jesus.
Talk about Mars movies.
No, actually, now I'm trying to think about... No, I think I'm sticking to the moon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Matt Damon wasn't having a good time.
The moon's more like the moon seems more realistic in our lifetime, and it also seems scarier, right? Because there's the dark side of the moon.
Right. Yeah. I watched that documentary, Apollo 11, that was just all NASA footage of the moon landing, and there was no dialogue. It was just the communication with NASA to the astronauts, and it was amazing. It was so good. I watched it on a plane, which obviously was not. We were like, I probably should be seeing this on IMAX. Dark Side of the Moon. I don't know. I think you're right.
You never know. What
do you have in your booth? Although, this podcast is going to come out after the fact, but I like the fact that you brought paintings and drawings. Like, you kind of I'm going to talk about my fine art practice here.
Well, I have a strategic reason for that too. I think, at least I'm trying. It's an experiment, but the last couple of years, like, everything exists on social media. Like, that's the only way any independent anything kind of, even corporations are working on Instagram and everything like that. So, but for me specifically, and I think a lot of other artists, I've had a really, really hard time growing my audience on there. Whether the algorithm, I have all these conspiracies about algorithms, but whether or not they're actually catered towards stopping me from getting more followers or not, or if it's just I'm doing a shitty job, I don't know. But I have had a lot of problems doing that. So it was kind of like, I use these shows. It's like, well, maybe I should do some more shows, right? So the last couple of years, I've done more conventions, and got back into having merch booths and this and that. But what I realized was that as much as I like selling my merch and pins and making shirts out of my art, and that's always fun, they're catered towards the merch. It's never fully my art. It's not a full representation of my art. So simultaneously, when I do an art gallery show, which is separate from a convention, in totally different ways, I'm catering to my audience that already exists, right? I'm just telling the same people every time I have a show, please come to my show again. You guys are awesome. Please come to my show. And it's great because they do, but how do I get a new audience? So I've decided that at a place like this where I know the clientele is everybody that would like this kind of stuff, and it's there's 10, 20,000, I don't know, maybe there's more, 20,000 people walking around.
Right.
Why not build a gallery, actually have a gallery show instead of a merch booth, and that way I can get 10,000 people to an art show that would never get to an art show before.
Right.
Or at least my art show, So it's an experiment.
Yeah, and also I think it's a reminder that for everybody, and I think there are people doing that here, that it came from your hand, all this stuff.
Right.
And that you actually create something, because even one of your paintings you have as a T-shirt, and I was looking at the T-shirt and I looked at the painting. I'm like, the painting is so incredibly skilled. You're an incredible draftsman.
Thank you.
I think draftsman's
I'll take it.
Yeah, and I feel like it's so important to see that part of it because because people don't
see where it comes from.
Yeah, see where it comes from, and I think that I was noticing that before we walked over here. I thought it was really cool.
Thanks. Yeah. It is just more of I wanted to have a reminder of I'm not just a T-shirt salesman. I'm not just this. This is what I prefer doing.
I was going to say that. Is that what would you in a perfect world just want to be painting all day, or are you? Or do
I'm
you
going
like
through that right now. Okay. Well, no, I do like going through. I do like. Pardon me. I do like doing both, but the merch side of it is the business aspect of it, and it was same with Zerofriends. It's so much work. It's so much work to not feel desperate, to not there's a lot of things that go into it. So it does take away from creative time and this and that. So
especially when you're starting to become responsible for now I notice if I talk right like this in the mic, it's better. You're responsible for the livelihoods of other people, and it probably gets. It kind of stifles the creative.
That's a hard thing when you are running a business aspect of it. But I do like doing it. But the thing that I'm actually going through at the moment is kind of a weird revelation that I had a few months ago. Where sorry, this is kind of therapy, right? I don't even know if I've talked about this.
The Radio Juxtapoz pod is a little bit like therapy.
Therapy. There you go. So I always really enjoyed writing stories, writing stuff, writing journal entries, whatever. I never considered myself a writer because it was a hobby, right? And then art. So I had a hobby of writing and a hobby of art. I decided to take art and turn that into a career, and I kept writing as my hobby. But there was a point about 10 or 11 years ago where organically I was able to combine my writing and my art, and I created this art show that was I think you were there. It was at Corey Helford Gallery. It was called Vertigo.
Yes.
And I was able to world build this whole story and have the art show be a reflection of the world, right? And it organically happened. And the response was, it was so good. I felt really good about it. It was exciting. It was like one of the first times I was really excited about my art show for a long time. And then because something clicked in that, I was like, this is it. This is what I need to do. I need to combine my world building with my art, and I can create all these worlds, and it'll be great. But what I didn't realize for the last 8 years was that I was subconsciously doing that, or trying to do that, with everything that I did, and it was hindering me from actually fully engulfing either one.
Yeah.
So it was like I would find myself with like months where I haven't shared or created a new piece of art because I couldn't get the story right to go with it. Or I would hold myself back from writing a story that I want to about some weird shit because I didn't know how to draw that. And then I was just like, and I didn't realize I was doing this until just a few months ago, where I was like, I felt like I was kind of like falling into obscurity within myself of just being like, I don't know what I'm doing anymore. Like, why can't I do this? And then I was like, well, they don't always have to go together.
Yeah. And I'm wondering, like, was this happening too? Like, just even with, when you were doing art direction for other things, was it infiltrating all of the practice? Like,
I think what it was is I got really excited about that show, and then when I moved out to LA a couple years ago, I got really excited about like using all these relationships and contacts that I've been with to start trying to pitch television shows and animated shows based on all these ideas that I've had forever. And what that did was, it just was like, as much as they were ideas, I was killing myself over trying to be like, okay, I need to draw this concept with this story so that I can take it to pitch this for a bigger thing, whatever. And it was just hurting me.
Yeah.
You know, like it was exhausting. Like, I was getting meetings with people. I was having some really fun. Like I did pitch some really fun shows and some really fun ideas. But because it's Hollywood, nothing, you know, there's a billion of those being pitched today, so it's fine. And maybe someday I'll be able to do stuff with them. But I really had to like stop myself from just like getting totally lost in frustration. So now I'm just doing art.
You know,
for a minute,
I was thinking about this, that the imagination issue that you curated for Juxtapoz was a really good moment for the magazine, where you sort of allowed me moving forward to include different people into the editorial process.
Awesome.
Because you remember, you had comedians, you had performance artists, you had David Copperfield, which still. That video. We went and we saw his new show the other week. Oh, did you really?
It was awesome. Yeah.
Oh my God.
It was insane. A giant physical UFO comes down to the crowd that appears out of nowhere.
But remember, he hadn't changed his show in so long.
Right.
So he's now made some.
He has a new show. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's crazy. But
that video that you did with David Copperfield to promote the issue is one of the greatest things
ridiculous.
Ever. Oh my God!
Oh my God! I love that dude. Yeah, we saw him not too long ago. It was great. We went back to his museum, and because the museum was featured.
That's
in the
right.
show, so.
Because I feel like, was it Alex Nicholson who went with you?
Yeah.
I think that. Yeah. But yeah, I was thinking about how you were one of the first people I ever met that kind of was able to be like, hey, like, Lonely Island is part of this story too. Like, you really kind of were able to figure out how to bring all these different kind of people together.
Yeah, I mean, there was a point where we almost had Robin Williams in it, which is really good. Remember that?
Oh my God, that's right.
It was crazy, and it fell apart because of the makeup. It was weird. It was like a timing schedule with his makeup department versus what he was shooting at the time.
Was there something with Bobcat Goldthwait?
Bobcat was going to interview.
He was going to interview him. Yeah, that's right.
So Bobcat Goldthwait was going to interview Robin Williams, and it would have been incredible. But thank you. But by the way, that was also like such a left field idea to have the imagination issue and have things that were just like made me smile in there, and for you guys to let me do that was still like, it's still my favorite thing I've done.
Well, you know what's cool about that too is that you weren't on the cover. Charlie was on the cover, Charlie Immer, and I remember thinking to myself, wow, Alex is going to curate this thing and not put himself on the cover. That's actually quite impressive. It takes a lot. That's a good ego check.
I mean, I thought Charlie deserved to be on the cover more so than I did.
Right. And you'd already had two covers at that point. Yeah, so it's fine.
I can't be too selfish. I mean, if we went back in time now, I'd be totally selfish because I do get a lot of people that know me from Juxtapoz.
Yeah, right.
Still.
Right.
And I'm like, damn, I should have done one more cover.
It's not over yet. We've gotten 25 years. We got hopefully 25 more. I know you got to get back to your booth. So is there anything that you want to plug anything? Is there anything where we could see your work out in the world, or do you have anything coming up, or?
I'm kind of like, I don't have anything planned. I might be actually painting at Powwow in Hawaii in February, which I'm really excited about. Once again, let's talk about how nervous I'm going to be for the next month and a half if I'm doing it. Anyways, but we'll get over it.
What? Is it because you don't do... Is it because it's mural stuff?
Yeah, I don't do a lot of murals anymore. I used to, and I don't... especially, I really, like... Seeing the scale of what people are doing now, you know, Tristan Eaton and Nichos and these guys that are just like insane. Like, what is it? I think like Kit Bennett, I think is the guy's name, that does the artist that does films from a drone and does ground paintings that are like blocks and blocks long. Like it's incredible.
And you forget that it's like we've now seen it, this big mural movement. You forget how skilled it takes to do that.
Oh my God, yeah, and it's terrifying. I mean, I know a lot of those guys too, and I still can't comprehend how the design aspect of it is like just how it's executed.
Right.
And so, of course, it terrifies me because I do it once every 3 years, right? So I should do it more.
It's almost like you're coming out of retirement,
I guess, or
the mural retirement.
I know, right?
But is it going to be a big one, you think?
I'm hoping not. I'm like, you guys can give me a curve. I'll paint on my knees.
Let's hope Jasper's listening to this so he can.
But no, I mean, like, I wouldn't mind doing something a little bit big, but I feel like I would die if I had to get on, like, you know, the window washers or whatever those guys use.
Oh yeah, no.
Like,
no.
I'll die.
No.
But I don't know. We'll see.
So that's the early 2020 plan.
That'll be early 2020. I am actually planning on. I unofficially have been in talks with Spoke Art and Hashimoto about doing something with them this year because I love Ken Harmon and I love Spoke Art. I might be doing an actual.
We can plug
Ken.
That's a good plug.
Let's plug Ken because I love Ken. Even if I'm not going to be there this year, Spoke Art and Hashimoto,
cool,
best galleries. Yeah, I don't know. I've kind of been in talks with that because I do want to do another show, but I'm always just like I just keep wanting to like level up like what I can do. Like I've been trying to outsource a lot more like sculptural aspects and doing kind of bigger like I really like the new style that I'm kind of like working on now that's available that you can see at the show. Like I want to make those inflatable like giant play houses or something, right?
Yeah.
Like they just look like weird shapes that you can jump and slide down a tongue or something weird like
Absolutely.
that.
Yeah.
So I just like I don't know. I like the idea of being able to just keep making my art bigger, unless I have to be on a scaffolding.
I had a snarky response, but I think I think
snark it up.
No, it's
make fun of me.
It's totally fine. But I love the new paintings that are in the booth. It's so great to see you.
Thank you. It's great to see you too.
It's exciting.
It's also great to still see the magazine on shelves when when a lot of stuff is it's hard. Print media is insane. Yeah. You guys are still killing it.
My buddy just sent me a photo of the magazine at the train station in Brussels, Belgium, and I'm like, that is
awesome.
That's great. I love it.
Cool.
Look at us.
Yeah.
Who would have thought?
10 years later, you can get to Brussels. I have nothing in Brussels. I had stuff in Brussels when Tower Records was there, but R.I.P.
Whoa.
That's how I'm old, man.
Man. No, I used to buy all my import records at Tower Records in Concord.
Oh yeah, dude. Tower Records was my international distribution before the internet.
Whoa.
That was the only way. Like I had no website, I had nothing, but Tower Records was one of the biggest supporters of independent publishing, and they carried my indie comics and zines in worldwide.
I think that's the first place I saw Juxtapoz was Tower Records.
Me too.
In Concord.
Yeah, I bought the X&O issue.
Whoa.
Zeno, is that how you pronounce his name? X&O, Zeno? I remember. It was one of the very first issues.
It must have been late 90s, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Mid-90s. It was like 95 maybe, 96.
Okay, yeah, so that's really, yeah. People are like, what is this East Bay knowledge?
Yeah.
Rasputin Records, Blondie's Pizza. I think Fat Slice just went out of business in Berkeley. Sad. That's really too bad.
Yeah. It's all right.
this is getting. It's turning into a sad podcast.
No, it's great because there's going to be like a craft beer place there.
Of
no,
course.
I don't know.
No, I mean that's what it's going to be.
It'll be a vape store.
How many craft beers can there be?
744,000
in Northern California alone.
Yeah. Which also is awesome, right? Like
it is because it's independent business.
It's basically DesignerCon of beer. Like 20 years ago, you couldn't make a toy and sell it yourself. And now you can make a toy and sell it yourself. And 20 years ago, you couldn't make a beer and sell it yourself. And now you can. So it's like equally as awesome.
Yeah, my Lyft driver in Chicago recently was talking about the beer he was making in his basement, and the care and nuance of the discussion. I mean, this was like midnight in Chicago. I'm having this beautiful conversation with this guy, and I learned so much. He was talking about the history, and he was so into it. And it really is kind of like this scene. Mm-hmm. People are so locked in and care about what they're doing, and it's I have to come to these things every once in a while just to remember that there is so much care in the underground art world. It's not really underground anymore, but you know what I mean.
It's ground.
It's ground.
The ground art world.
It's here, as you can see from like the thousands of people.
And it's
walking
awesome.
Around. Yeah. Alex, thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. Let's shake it. We're shaking hands right now. You can feel it.
It feels. Oh, it's very nice. Thank you, Alex.
Word.